Halfdan the Black was presented to us on the show Vikings as the brother of Harald Fairhair. However, in the Norse sagas, it is clear that he was Harald's father, being the king of the Vestfold, an ancient kingdom in eastern Norway. According to the ancient sagas, particularly the HEIMSKRINGLA saga, Halfdan was born into a world steeped in tragedy, ancient bloodlines, and power. Halfdan was the son of the legendary King Gudrod the Hunter, who ruled the kingdoms of Ranghild and the Vestfold. He was almost a mythic character in the Norse sagas, and he belonged to the legendary house of Yngling, created by the Norse god Yngvi, from whom the Norse and Swedish kings claimed descent from. Yngvi, believed to be the son of Odin, imbued Halfdan's lineage with a divine right to rule. According to the HEIMSKRINGLA saga, this is the account of Halfdan's life. One day, when Halfdan was but a year old, his father Gudrod the Hunter threw a grand feast. He was very drunk in the evening, and when he was walking on the gangway to leave his ship, an assassin thrust a spear through Gudrod, killing him. Gudrod's men instantly killed the assassin, who turned out to be a page boy. This page boy was under the employ of Halfdan's own mother, Asa, a Viking Age queen and regent of the ancient Norse kingdom of Adger. Asa admitted that the page boy had acted on her behalf. After Gudrod was killed, Asa took the 1-year-old Halfdan and returned to her kingdom where Halfdan was raised. This episode during Halfdan's youth reflects the treachery and complicated politics in 9th century Norway, where the murder of divine rulers was common. In Adger, Halfdan flourished, growing stout and strong under his mother's watchful care. His striking black hair earned him the name Halfdan the Black, a name that would come to signify not just his appearance, but also the dark spirit that resided within him. As he approached the age of 18, the time had come for him to claim his birthright. With the fire of ambition ignited in his heart, he ascended to the throne of Adger. Almost immediately, he turned his gaze towards the Vestfold, where he and his half-brother Olaf agreed to divide the kingdom, a bold move that set the stage for future alliances and conflicts. That very autumn, armed with an army of loyal warriors, Halfdan marched to Vingulmark, where he faced King Gandalf in a series of fierce battles. The tide of war ebbed and flowed between them, each clash a test of strength and strategy, with victories and losses alternating like the shifting winds. Halfdan, a formidable warrior, never fell, and seemed to be favoured by the gods, which according to the Norse lore were also his forebears. Eventually, after much bloodshed, the two kings reached an agreement. Halfdan would claim half of Vingulmark, restoring his father Gudrod's legacy. With his territory secured, Halfdan set his sights on the kingdom of Raumareik, determined to expand his influence further. News of his ambitions reached King Sigtryg, the son of King Eystein, who had previously subdued Raumareik and ruled from his stronghold in Hedmark. Sigtryg rallied his troops and confronted Halfdan, resulting in a monumental battle that echoed across the hills. The clash of the Norse berserkers was brutal, but in the end, Halfdan emerged victorious. Just as Sigtryg's forces began to retreat, an ill-fated arrow found its mark, striking him under the left arm. The warrior king fell, his life extinguished, leaving Raumareik vulnerable to Halfdan's claim. With Raumareik now firmly under his control, Halfdan's power and reputation grew. However, the ripple effects of his conquest soon reached Hedmark. King Eystein, Sigtryg's brother, quickly mobilized his forces and marched to Raumareik, determined to assert his own authority. Upon Halfdan's return to the Vestfold, Eystein laid the land under his dominion, a reminder of the ever-shifting alliances and rivalries that defined the fierce landscape of their world. When King Halfdan learned of the upheaval in Rumoreich, a fire ignited within him. With a fierce determination, he summoned his loyal warriors, their spirits bolstered by tales of their previous victories. The call to arms resonated through the valleys, and soon his army stood ready. A sea of glinting armour and resolute faces, Halfdan set forth, intent on confronting King Eystein, whose ambitions threatened the fragile peace. As they clashed upon the battlefield, the air crackled with tension. Steel met steel, the earth trembling beneath the weight of their conflict. Halfdan's strategic mind had shone, guiding his men to a decisive victory. Eystein, realizing the tide had turned against him, fled towards Hedmark, a shadow escaping into the gathering dusk, pursued relentlessly by Halfdan's vengeful host. The pursuit was relentless. In the rugged terrain, another confrontation loomed on the horizon. Halfdan met Eystein once more, and again his forces proved victorious, driving the defeated king northward. He would seek refuge with Gudbrand, a powerful Norse chief, renowned for his strength and wisdom. There among the towering peaks and deep valleys, Eystein rallied fresh warriors, preparing for the inevitable clash that lay ahead. As winter draped the land in white, Eystein marshalled his forces and ventured towards Hedmark. Fate led him to a vast island on the serene expanse of the Mjøsen Lake, where the icy waters reflected the grey skies above. It was here that two kings met in battle that would echo through the ages. The clash of swords rang out like thunder, and the ground ran red with the blood of the fallen. Among the slain was Guthorm, the son of Gudbrand, a warrior of exceptional skill and valour, whose loss was mourned across the uplands. With one more victory in his grasp, Halfdan stood tall amidst the carnage, but Eystein, still undeterred, fled northwards again, seeking sanctuary in the familiar embrace of the valley. Now desperate for peace and mindful of their shared bloodlines, he sent forth his kinsman, Halvald Skalk, to beseech Halfdan for mercy. Halfdan, recognizing the ties that bound their families, contemplated the offer, and with a wise heart, he agreed to grant Eystein half of Hedmark, the land that had once belonged to his ancestors. Yet, in the spirit of rightful conquest, he claimed Thotten and the lands known as Land, as well as the rich territory of Hadeland. Thus, with each measured decision, King Halfdan solidified his power, growing into a formidable ruler and a mighty king. Halfdan the Black would soon marry a woman named Ranghild, who was the daughter of Harald Goldbeard, who was the king of a kingdom named Sogne. They had a son, to whom Harald gave his own name, and the boy was brought up in his mother's native kingdom. Now when Harald Goldbeard had nearly lived out his days, and was becoming weak, having no son, he gave his dominions to his daughter's son Harald, and gave him the title of king. He would die soon after. The same winter, his daughter Ranghild died, and the following spring, the young Harald fell sick and died at 10 years of age. As soon as Halfdan the Black heard of his son's death, he took the road northwards to Sogne with a great force and was well received. He claimed the heritage and dominion after his son, and no opposition was made. He would take the entire kingdom. Earl Atle Majovda, also known as the Slender, who was a friend of King Halfdan, came to him and set the crown over his head. However, thereafter, King Halfdan would proceed to his kingdom in the uplands. King Halfdan, broken due to the death of his wife and child, journeyed to the storied lands of Vingulmark. One fateful night, as the moon cast its silvery glow upon the earth, a weary sentry rode into the guest quarters where the king rested. Breathless and urgent, he relayed news of a looming war force, drawing ever closer to their refuge. Without hesitation, the king sprang to his feet, his heart ignited with the fire of duty. He summoned his loyal men, their armour glinting like the stars in the night, and together they stepped out into the chill air, forming ranks under the shadow of destiny. As the tension thickened, the sons of King Gandalf, Eystein and Helsing, emerged from the depths of the night, their ranks swelling with a formidable army of Ulfhednar and berserkers. The clash of steel echoed through the valley, and chaos erupted as the battle raged. Though valiant, King Halfdan found himself outnumbered, and with a heavy heart he retreated into the dense embrace of the forest, leaving behind many of his loyal warriors, including his beloved foster father, Olver Spake the Wise, who valiantly fell in the fray. The tide of battle surged as warriors poured towards King Halfdan, relentless in their pursuit. Undaunted, he pressed onwards, seeking the sons of Gandalf, and their fateful meeting took place near the tranquil shores of Lake Orien. The clash of wheels echoed like thunder, and the battlefield became a tapestry of valour and sacrifice. Eystein and Helsing met their end amidst the turmoil, while their brother Haek, overwhelmed by the chaos, vanished into the shadows, fleeing to the distant lands of Elfhelmar. With the tide turning in his favour due to his surprise attack in the forest, King Halfdan claimed the entirety of Vingulmark, a realm steeped in ancient power and destiny. As the last echoes of battle faded into the stillness of the autumn night, Halfdan was now the king of several kingdoms, and had grown into a mighty warlike king, the gods favouring him when it came to battle and fortune. Sigurd Hjort was the name of a king in Ringerike, who was stouter and stronger than any other man. His father was Helg and his mother was Auslaug, the daughter of Sigurd Snake in the Eye, who again was the son of Ragnar Lothbrok. It is told of Sigurd that when he was only 12 years old, he killed a berserker in single combat, and 11 other of his comrades. Everyone in Norway knew about his many deeds, and there was even a long saga about his feats. At the time, Sigurd was said to be the mightiest man in the Norse region. Sigurd Hjort was the proud father of 2 cherished children. His daughter Ranghild, a radiant young woman of 20, embodied vitality and grace, while her brother Guthorm was a spirited youth, full of promise. Sigurd was known for his adventurous spirit, often riding alone into the vast, untamed forests to hunt formidable wild beasts. His passion for this sport was known, as he preferred to hunt in solitude to portray his immense prowess. One fateful day, as he journeyed deeper into the woods, he emerged into a sunlit clearing near Hedeland. There, the fierce berserker Haek confronted him, accompanied by 30 men. A brutal battle ensued, and though Sigurd fought with valour, he ultimately fell, having slain 12 of Haek's warriors. Haek himself was wounded in the fray, losing a hand, and he also bore 3 other grievous injuries. In the aftermath of this deadly encounter, Haek and his men rode to Sigurd's home, where they captured Ranghild and Guthorm, along with a wealth of treasures. They transported them to Hedeland, where Haek ruled over extensive lands. He commanded a grand feast, in anticipation of marrying Ranghild to strengthen his line. Yet, as time passed, his wounds would heal slowly, confining him to his bed throughout the long autumn and into the bitter winter. Meanwhile, King Halfdan the Black was revelling in the Yule celebrations in Hedmark when the news of Sigurd's demise reached him. One crisp morning as dawn broke, he summoned one of his best men and instructed him to journey to Hedeland to retrieve Ranghild, Sigurd's beloved daughter. His man gathered 100 men, and they would set forth, their journey guiding them across the shimmering lake to Hake's stronghold, into the soft grey light of morning. Halfdan's own berserks would surround the dwelling, stealthily positioning themselves at every entrance where the servants lay in slumber. In a sudden and decisive strike, they would burst into Hake's chamber, seizing Ranghild and Guthorm along with the treasures within. In a fiery act of vengeance, they ignited the quarters of Hake's servants. Hake's grand long hall was consumed by the inferno, and his berserkers would burn alive, with flames licking the skies. With Ranghild and her brother escorted to the safety of a wagon, they traversed the glistening ice. Hake, roused by the uproar, attempted to pursue them, yet as he reached the icy shore, despair overcame him. As he watched his men burn alive and the might of his lands become diminished, he turned the hilt of his sword with his remaining hand to the ground and fell upon it, choosing to end his own life. When King Halfdan, keen-eyed and perceptive, caught sight of the covered wagon gliding back across the frozen lake, a surge of triumph coursed through him. He knew their mission had succeeded, and he promptly commanded the tables to be set for a grand feast, sending out invitations to gather guests from far and wide. That day, a magnificent celebration unfolded, marking not only the return of Ranghild, but also the joyous union between her and King Halfdan. Ranghild was destined to become a great queen, a beacon of strength and grace. Not only was Ranghild's father celebrated as the strongest man in Norway, she was the daughter of Thorny, a noblewoman from Jutland, and sister to Thyra Danebod, who was married to Gorm the Old, the king of the Danes, intertwining their fates in the grand tapestry of history. Ranghild's ancestry was one of divinity and nobility, as her grandfather was Sigurd Snake in the Eye. Halfdan's own line was also legendary, with he also being descended from kings and the Norse gods of old. Ranghild, wise beyond her years, was gifted with a keen intellect, and she often found herself wandering through the realms of dreams, where visions of grand significance unfolded. One night, she dreamed vividly of her cherished herb garden, a sanctuary of fragrant blooms and vibrant greenery that whispered the secrets of the earth. In this dream, she noticed a thorn nestled against her. With a gentle resolve, she grasped the thorn in her hand. As she held it, a remarkable transformation began. The thorn, once small and unassuming, began to grow with an astonishing vigor. It sprouted into a magnificent tree, its roots plunging deep into the earth, anchoring it firmly, as if seeking the very heart of the world. The trunk soared skyward, stretching higher and higher until it vanished into the clouds, so lofty that she could barely catch a glimpse of its pinnacle. The tree's stature was both awe-inspiring and formidable, its branches sprawling outward with an abundance that defied comprehension. The lower part of the tree, a striking crimson hue, was marked with the essence of life, as it had absorbed the very blood of the earth itself. In contrast, the upward-reaching trunk was a lush emerald green, glistening in the ethereal light, while its branches were as pure and white as freshly fallen snow, evoking a sense of serene beauty amidst the vivid imagery. Each limb of the tree was distinct and grand, some reaching high toward the heavens, others bending low to whisper to the ground. Ranghild marvelled at the sheer expanse of this tree. Its branches appeared to stretch across all of Norway, and perhaps even beyond, enfolding the land in a protective embrace. It was a vision of strength and splendour, a symbol of her dreams that resonated deeply within her, echoing the vast possibilities that lay ahead. Who was the tree? Was it her husband Halfdan the Black, who was quickly subduing every kingdom in Norway? Or would the dream speak of another, one of her descendants perhaps? King Halfdan found it peculiar that he had never experienced dreams. This absence of nightly visions troubled him, prompting him to seek counsel from the sage known as Thorleif Spake. The wise man advised that when he desired insight through dreams, he would sleep in a swine sty, claiming that this method never failed to produce visions. Intrigued and desperate for a revelation, the king decided to follow this unusual advice. That night, as he slumbered in a rustic sty, a vivid dream unfolded before him. In his vision, he beheld a cascade of the most exquisite hair, each curl a testament to beauty. Some ringlets tumbled to the ground, while others danced gracefully at various heights, some reaching the middle of his legs, others brushing against his knees, and some playfully resting at his sides or neck. Among the strands, one ringlet stood out, surpassing all others in radiance and splendour, its size drawing his gaze like a rare jewel amidst common stones. Upon waking, King Halfdan recounted this extraordinary dream to Thorleif, who interpreted it with a grave significance. The ringlets, he declared, foretold a lineage of great descendants, each destined to rule over vast territories, though not all would enjoy equal honour. Yet one of his bloodline would shine brighter than the rest, an illustrious figure. As the centuries passed, when Halfdan's saga was recounted, it was believed that this ringlet foreshadowed would be the king Olaf the Saint. However, it also could have been Halfdan's own son Harald, known as Harald Fairhair, or the future warrior king, Harald Hardrada. Halfdan's wife Ranghild would soon bear him a son. Upon his birth, water was poured over him in the sacred rite, and he was named Harald. From an early age, Harald flourished, growing stout and remarkably handsome. As he matured, he displayed exceptional prowess in various feats, coupled with an extraordinary intellect. His mother cherished him deeply, though his father's affections were less pronounced. King Halfdan found himself amidst the revelry of a grand Yule feast in Hadeland, where a remarkable event unfolded one fateful evening. As the assembly of esteemed guests gathered around the richly adorned table, ready to indulge on a feast, a mysterious phenomenon occurred. All the meat and ale vanished, as if spirited away by unseen hands. The king sat in bewilderment, the clamour of laughter and joy giving way to a heavy silence as confusion blanketed the hall. One by one the guests departed, casting anxious glances back towards the bewildered monarch as they hastened homeward. Determined to uncover the cause of this strange occurrence, King Halfdan ordered the capture of a Finn known for his wisdom. He sought to extract the truth from the man, subjecting him to various forms of interrogation. Yet, no matter the extent of his efforts, The Finn remained resolute, his lips sealed against the king's relentless inquiries. In his hour of desperation, the Finn called out for aid, particularly appealing to Harold, Halfdan's own son. Though Harold pleaded for mercy on the man's behalf, his father's wrath was unyielding. In a bold act of defiance, Harold chose to liberate the Finn, and they set forth together into the wintry landscape. Their journey led them to a distant stronghold, where the Finn's chief hosted a lavish feast. Here, they were met with a warm hospitality, the rich scents of roasted meats, and the sounds of merriment enveloping them like a comforting cloak. As spring approached, the chief summoned Harold and shared a heavy truth. "Your father was displeased with me for taking some provisions during the harsh winter," the chief said. "Now I wish to repay that debt with joyful news. Your father has passed away. It is time for you to return home and claim the kingdom he once ruled. With your birthright, you shall unite all of Norway beneath your banner." Halfdan the Black was returning from a grand feast in Hadeland. As he journeyed homeward, the path led him across the shimmering expanse of Lake Rand. It was springtime, and the earth was awakening from its icy slumber. The air was rich with the scent of melting snow and budding life. The thaw had transformed the landscape, revealing the remnants of a winter's grip. As the king's retinue crossed the bay, they encountered a treacherous sight. Here, a pond that had been carved into the ice for cattle to quench their thirst lay exposed, and the warmth of spring had eroded the ice, creating gaping holes where the dung had settled during the frost. Suddenly, the fragile surface gave way beneath them, and the ice collapsed with a shattering roar. Tragically, King Halfdan and many of his companions plunged into the icy depths, meeting a watery grave. At just 40 years of age, Halfdan the Black had earned a reputation as one of the most fortunate kings, blessed with bountiful seasons and prosperity for his people. Upon news of his demise, the whole realm was plunged into mourning. His body was retrieved from the depths and was floated back to Ranghild for burial. People of Halfdan's kingdoms would flock to honour their fallen king, each eager to claim a part of him for their own land, believing that such a gesture would bless their fields with abundant harvests. After much deliberation, it was decided to divide the king's remains into 4 parts. The head was laid to rest in a grand mound in the Ranghild, while the other fragments were taken home by noblemen, each crafting their own burial mounds. These burial sites, marked by their sombre elegance, have been known as Halfdan's mounds, standing to honour the king whose legacy would echo through the sagas, and also to bless their own lands, so the gods may favour their harvests. Halfdan the Black's son Harold would later become the first king of Norway through his use of warfare, cunning, and with the aid of his berserkers and Ulfhednar warriors, fulfilling his mother Ranghild's dream. It can be said that his parents' prophetic dreams were about him, the future legend, as he marched from kingdom to kingdom with his berserker horde conquering. The life of Halfdan the Black and his expansion of his minor kingdom, as well as he and his wife's dreams, would set the stage for their son Harold to unite all of the minor petty kingdoms and create Norway. I hope you all enjoyed the video. If you did, be sure to like, subscribe and share, and I'll see you all soon for another History Profile.